Hello and welcome to another Versus video. Given that the Scourge versus Lockdown video did quite well, I was more than motivated to make a few more. So starting off with one which was recommended actually, and that is obviously 2007 movie Megatron versus Lockdown. So, as usual, I will begin with listing their forms of artillery, their weaponry. So, starting off with Megatron, he has his obviously very iconic fusion cannon, which he can use it with only one arm, or he can combine both his arms. And I mean, that's pretty much it for his ranged weapons. And in terms of melee, he has his flail, which questionable because you can't really do that much with a flail in terms of combat. But he does have his flail, his fusion cannon. But the one thing that I think is going to be on Megatron's side here is his raw strength. Megatron is very, very strong. And before I get into any of that, because I know I will get distracted, let's take a look at Lockdown, because oh boy, there's a lot. Looking at Lockdown's weaponry, of course, we begin with his most iconic one, and that is his face gun. This weapon is insane for one reason, and that it, well, not only is it powerful, but also it does not restrict your arms. That is the common thing with a lot of Transformers, because obviously their weapons form out of their arms. A lot of the times they lose their hands in favor of weapons. With Lockdown, you can literally have him on the ground, both arms pinned. That sounds very kinky, but he can just form his face gun and shoot you in the face. So, yeah, Lockdown has that, but he also has his arm gun, which doesn't really seem to be that effective in the final battle, at least because he only deployed it just before he died. But obviously that is pretty much it for his ranged weapons. He also has, the first time we see him, he uses the spark extractor. Of course, a weapon which unfortunately killed off one of the original Autobots from the 2007 movie. He used it to kill Ratchet. Now this doesn't really seem like a weapon, but if he wanted it to be, he probably could. I mean, he almost killed Cade with it in the final battle, but he does have the spark extractor. He does have like a sword dagger thing. I don't know what it is because it's too small to be a sword, but it's too big to be a dagger. So he does have that. Of course, he has his hooks, which may not seem like great weapons, but man, they cause for some awesome scenes in the movie. He can not only grab characters, or hook into characters using this hook, but of course he can traverse buildings. So that is insane. And of course, probably one of, if not his most overpowered weapon, are the seeds. Now, these would not be that OP if he did not carry them with him. Obviously, as we see in Lucas's jet scene, he can literally just deploy seeds and throw them, which is absolutely insane. So, yeah, definitely in this fight, it does not seem like much in terms of the weaponry, because Lockdown has everything, and Megatron literally has a flail and a cannon. First of all, let's look at Megatron in terms of how he would actually do in a fight and what his advantages and disadvantages would be. So, obviously, as I stated before, Megatron does have raw strength. He may not have the agility and the weaponry like Lockdown, but he is big, he is buff, he is chunky, and he's very, very strong, especially in this 2007 movie. And that, I think, is definitely going to be his advantage. But something which could be an advantage and could also be a disadvantage is his wild personality. Megatron does a lot of just attacking. He's not as tactical and as calculated as Lockdown. He does just attack for the sake of, and he doesn't really put much thought into it. Lockdown thinks before any action that he does. Megatron also possesses a very important ability that Lockdown does not have, and that is the ability to fly. Megatron turns into this creepy as hell Cybertronian jet, which is really just a complete mess. But this will definitely give him the advantage if he is losing, because he can just quickly transform and fly out of there. And we have not seen Megatron possess any weaponry in his vehicle mode, but I assume that the front is a cannon. But I will not, use that in this battle because we never saw it. So while Megatron does not have the firepower or the melee weaponry that Lockdown has, his brute strength is definitely making up for it in that aspect. And now let's look at Lockdown. A very important thing to note here before we get into specifics is that Lockdown is, oh my god, he is tiny compared to Megatron. He has a much smaller build. As I said, Megatron is huge. He's big and he is muscular. Lockdown is small and agile. Of course, look at the difference in their alt modes. Megatron turns into a massive Cybertronian jet. Lockdown turns into a little Lamborghini Aventador. Alright, he is not winning in a vehicle mode chase. But I think that Lockdown could definitely be what Bumblebee is to a lot of Decepticons, and that is a nuisance. Lockdown has the agility and the speed to not only evade Megatron's attacks, but get to him where he's weakest, and that is his head and area region. I literally just said head and area region. What the hell is wrong with me? It is a decent match between these two, because while 2007 movie Megatron is fast, he has nothing on Lockdown. Lockdown is absolutely insane, because if he is losing the fight on the ground, he can still climb the building. But ultimately, I think will be taken down because Megatron could just transform and fly into him in the building. I am not including Lockdown's ship under his weaponry, because if we include his ship, then Megatron could just fly into the ship and take the weapons, and then that would make the fight so much more complicated. So yeah, obviously we're not including Lockdown's ship. Now, this fight could go two ways. I personally think that if Lockdown is quick enough, he can not only deal a distracting blow to Megatron, but could use his quick Lamborghini alt mode to drive away or climb up a building, which will probably be the safer option, and drop a seed, which of course will just turn Megatron into metal. So that is one possibility. Or the other is in Megatron's favor, and that is, of course, Lockdown just starts crawling all around him like a bloody spider. But as soon as Megatron gets hold of Lockdown, it is game over. So, to sum it all up, despite his absolutely insane artillery and, lack of size and muscle and flight, I personally believe that 2007 movie Megatron will destroy Lockdown in a fight. There is no bias in that decision at all, because Lockdown, even though Scourge is awesome, Lockdown is my favorite Transformers villain from the live action films. And it was painful for me to put Megatron in the winning position here, but I'm sorry, there is absolutely no world where Lockdown would beat Megatron, because he's just too small, and Megatron is also very quick. It's not just Lockdown who has speed and agility. But yeah, in conclusion, Megatron wipes the floor with Lockdown. So, with these videos so far, I would actually like to keep score. Megatron has one victory, and Lockdown has a victory as well. Scourge unfortunately has 0. So, please tell me what you think of this. Who do you think would win? Did I miss something? Or is there something that I should have thought about the fight? Please comment down below and please recommend more Transformers battles. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.